I'm actually looking at the software asset management console. So this is where within Remedy you can keep track of what contracts and what software certificates you have, and whether you are in compliance from a auditing standpoint. So you'll notice here that I'm happen to be located on a particular one. It's showing me all of the ones and where they're deployed in the bottom. But you'll notice that we have one here that's in red that says we're out of compliance. So let's drill into that and see why we have this situation. So I can see in the bottom of the screen here, here's where this Visio, we've got them deployed on a number of different configuration items, and I can see that. But our problem is, if you look up here, I can see that we purchased 4, but yet when we go out and we crawl our CMDB, we found that there are 5 instances out there. So that's what put us over the this put us into the red, or the out of compliance issue. So just in general, let's go and look at those compliance details, and it kind of shows you where you configured it. Kind of the same thing you were looking at on that screen. This just shows it a little clearer. So a couple of things happened here that really shouldn't have been out there, because when we set it up, we said to make sure you send out an email notification to whoever does our software procurement to send out a reminder when we only had 3 of those certificates left for new users. And we had yet another reminder go out when we only had 1 remaining, but yet somehow somebody did deploy another instance out there, and we really don't have a certificate to match up in case the the auditors knock on the door. So we want to talk about, this is great that we can detect that, and now somebody at least can take some action on it. We've got a nice flashing red screen to alert us on that. But we want to talk about how would you set up your system to be able to do that. So I'm going to go down to my contracts console, because that's really where this action starts to happen. And quite honestly, I could find that Microsoft contract for that Visio and just go add some more certificates to that contract. But what I thought I would do is just create one from scratch, just so you see what the steps are to be able to do it. Most of you probably do know that under contracts, we can have lease contracts, we can have maintenance contracts, master contracts if they're all rolling up. And then the majority of things people are going to do, of course, are the software license contracts. So let's go in and create a new software license contract, and I'll show you how you set this up and how you establish those compliance and warning levels and breaches and so forth as you go through that. So take just a minute to fresh my screen up here, doing this from my home office. So we want to put in some information about, well, what is this new contract going to be? And we're just going to give it any name, just so it's something unique here that we've got in here. Is what we're going to call it. You'd probably want to put in a summary definition of what we're doing here. Obviously, if you're in a multi-tenancy environment, you have to pick the company tenant that you're looking for there. In this case, we're going to type in, start typing in, and I've got to use things. We're going to have a Microsoft contract, so we can find that. That's who the supplier name is going to be. Some of the things are in bold, which implies that's a required field. So we're going to allocate this to a particular contract. And we got to put in the contract management stuff. It's going to be CalPro. It's going to be IT support. It's going to be change management support, we'll say, is what we're getting here. And basically, that's what I need. There is a work info and a license detail, but we're really not ready for those yet. We've got to get the initial contract out there. I missed one. Oh, yeah, term. This is the nice thing about this. We can have any type of different contracts. As we know, there are site contracts, there's per instance contracts, per copy per CPU. There are a lot of different types of terms and a lot of types of the ones. So this will be a fixed term that we've got here. And the status is going to be, we're setting this one up to be, actually in a draft mode. We'll put it in here to begin with. And I think we should be good to go there. No, since I put it since I picked that it was a fixed, I need to pick a expiration date, which we will just bump that up to 17. Actually, I will just put this to October. We'll just go to December for the sake of the argument, just so we can get something out here. And then, of course, you'd want to set up when do you want a notification date to go out. And so we'd probably put that into January and change that to 2017 that we've got out there. Uh, move that finger quick on the keyboard here this morning, forgive me, and put that notification date of when we need to do that. So once you get the basic contract done, then you've got to say, okay, well, what are the products that are going to be a part of that particular contract and that we've got out there. Let me put that in again. I did something incorrectly here. Sorry about that. Put in my summary, and we'll make this a non-expiring contract, so we won't have to worry about that. We won't have to worry about those dates over there on the other side. Company, of course, is CalPro. The supplier is going to be Microsoft that we're doing here, and obviously it's pulling these names from your product catalog here. Again, it's going to be CalPro, it's going to be IT support, it's going to be, which one of my groups is. I think we'd said we were going to use change management there. And I'm actually going to put in here, this is going to be DT45. We'll just use that as the unique name because I can easily remember that. Then I got to do the call center. Where did I leave that out? Here we go. It's pretty in black. No reason I didn't see that, but sorry about that. So once you get your basic contract there, then what you're ready to do is to start talking about, well, what are we going to have here with this particular one? So if we kind of go back over here now to our contracts console and we go in and we find this latest one that we did, which I believe we called MSD45 here, right? So we'll pull that up. And the first thing that we're going to see here is just review what we did. It's a never-ending contract. It's not going to be executed. It's CalPro. Here was our particular information that we wanted. So now what we're talking about doing is that we need to come in here on our license detail, and we want to add the licenses that we're going to have as part of this particular contract here. So some various information here. Again, you are working with the product catalog that comes as part of this. So we've got to come in here and give it a certificate ID here. So this is going to be a Microsoft cert for MS Office is kind of what we'll use there that we're going to do for Win 7. We'll say make up whatever you want there for Win Office ICE. And again, they like you to put in a lot of these fields. We'll just do the summary here on what you're doing. What type of license is this going to be? This is what I'd mentioned on the other one. Per copy, per CPU, enterprise, per copy, per instance. What type of licenses are we going to be buying here? So in this case, it's going to be that type. We've already got our cost center and allocation from the contract that we had done before. So once you get your basic information in here, the certificate and what you're doing there, then we go to our next tab, and we're going to start capturing the other information. Well, who is the manufacturer? Well, we know, again, that that's Microsoft, because this is where we're actually going to go and look up from the product catalog that we have here. So what is the product that we are going to select here? This is where you would just come down and find the one from your product catalog. So you'd scroll down here and get down and get down. Microsoft's got a lot of stuff, obviously. So we'll just grab one of these. So that's the one we want. You can optionally, if they're different versions, if there's something you wanted to do, you can do that, but it's not actually a requirement. So that's what I want to add as at least the first certificate that's going to be part of the new contract that I created. Now, of course, I could come in here once I finish this one and add a second type of license and a third type of license. But once I get the basic information in, then I'm just going to go to my next screen, and here is you see where we put in that information that we reflected in the SAM console. How many licenses am I going to get for this? Well, we're going to buy 8 of them. So what do I want my first breach warning to be? At what level? So I'm going to come in here and say at 4 we want to send out the first warning, and then we want to send out the second warning when we get down to 2. And of course you could pick whatever it is that you need to do there. And so we'll now hit our next button, go to our next screen. It says we're ready to save. The certificates will be created. gives you the normal remedy message letting me know that we have done that now. So here I can see that I've got my Microsoft Office. Obviously, I haven't gone to the CMDB yet, so obviously we are certainly in compliance there as far as what we need to do there. So just reviewing that again, you can go back and look at all of your different situations here. So this one we got in to make sure we're still in the executed mode, which it is. So we're kind of good to go here. So now what we do is we go back to our SAM console, and actually I believe I've got that right here. We'll go back to our SAM console. That's under Asset Management. Oops. And what we'll do is we're now going to say, well, we've got a new contract out there that we just created that we're going to do. So let's go out and find that guy. And if I don't see him here, I'll just grab one of the existing ones here. So now what you're really ready to do is saying we need to run the license job. And what this does is it takes your new license that you've done, and it's going to go out and it's going to compare it to what it then finds in the CMDB. So when you go over and bring up this dialog box, what you're looking is you've got all different types of things. So you could run all the Microsoft jobs at one time. You could run the particular one that you just did, whatever might make sense here. So you just highlight the job you want to run, you go out and you say run it, and of course it's going to come in here and say, are you sure you want to run it? It could take a long time. It's just a standard warning you get. And then of course I can click on my running jobs tabs and I can kind of see the thing and keep refreshing it, and it'll let me know of what it's done here. So again, we'll just let that pop for just a second. We'll let that go. We'll hit the refresh button, and that'll finally come back and tell us when we've ended. Then we would hit our history tab, and then it will go out and say, okay, based on the job that you ran, we compared that to what we found, and here's the 3 entries that we found, and kind of give you some summary definitions. But that's how you kind of do it. So it's not pushing the software out there. It assumes you've got some distribution method that you're updating your CMDB with the newly purchased software. When you run the license job, you just take all of your software licenses or a particular one, as I did there, and say, look at the contract. How many did we buy? Go out, hit the CMDB, bring me back all the instances of where you found that, so I've got that in a record, and then let me know whether we're then still in compliance or not in compliance. So it's a very simple thing to use. It's just I think a lot of people don't know about it, or they kind of freak out when they get it up there into the product catalog and some of those things. But it's certainly a very, very good way for you to be able to take advantage of some of the more robust features that you've got in asset management, which is why I just wanted to at least highlight that to you guys. Anybody who might be interested in going into a deeper dive, what does it take to implement that, and some of the associated costs and all, we'll be more than happy to show you that. So you notice here, as I mentioned, I'm in the old view here. Slowly but surely, everything is migrating to the new Smart IT view, and asset management has, in fact, made it over to that new thing. You'll notice here that we've actually got an asset console now, so we're able to view our assets in this more modern and intuitive interface. And of course, here I'm looking at those managed by me. But if I change that to all the servers, I get the list here exactly as I would have had it back over in the other side of the house. I also can use my search feature. Let's say I want to look at a particular server. I know I have one out there called Maybach. I'm going to search for Maybach and see if it can find that server. It says, well, yes, we did. Well, let me view the full asset record now in the new Smart IT interface. So those of you familiar with the old console, I've got everything that I had there. I just don't have to go tab by tab by tab to look at the information. So here is first off, I immediately see my relationship. So this is running my employee benefits application is the primary thing. It's an asset server that we've got out there. As I scroll down, here's how we kind of associated, which was the general tab in the old view, with the impact and the urgency out there. I've got all my financial data if I need to see that about my different cost centers and so forth. As I scroll on down, of course, I can see graphically where it's located because, as we know, Smart IT is an app that you can download to a smartphone, a tablet, or whatever, so you'd be able to see that. As I scroll on down, of course, I can see things that have been impacted via change request when this asset has been part of that particular view that we've got out there. Like in the other console there, I can come over here and I can see my people and my group datas that, oops, sorry about that. I can see, who is the primary support person for this machine, who is the primary support group that we have out there. So all that's available in here. I can't create the contract yet because that's part of the other one, but I can see if there is an existing contract for this particular server. And of course, I can then bring up kind of more of the asset view, and I would still have this is the other two systems that are related to that existing INSAC, which we had actually already seen up there. And of course, this is where I could do things as in the other console, as I could bring up the graphical view of the relationships of this server, and if it's got any parent or any children tickets, they would show there. This is where I can come in and do different types of things, put in notes, which is basically your work info tab that you're used to in the other one, go in and record outages that we have to do. This is where I can certainly come in here, of course, as we look at this. I could edit the record in total. I could share this record with like another staff member if we wanted to collaborate on some issue that I'm having with this particular Maybach server or whatever, and I could stop following this as a particular one. Again, whether you do it by the search bar or whether you actually come over here and just pull it from your view here, you kind of get the same thing. So if I click it from there, you're kind of seeing the similar things. Here's all the activity that's been related to this particular asset that we've got here, so notes and tickets that have been open. In this one, I believe that, we can say here, I believe we do have our people populated on this guy as far as what's there. Again, if you've recorded any outages, you would have that. So like most of the other smart IT things, it's just a better view, a more consolidated view. You can take advantage of the fact that the viewing device is probably GPS enabled. It's just a nicer interface. I think the next thing that you will see come over will be things like the software asset management console that we were working in, the contracts console, perhaps the receiving and the purchasing console, and that might be an interesting topic for yet another day. Because again, not everybody who has Remedy Asset Management does is the purchasing piece, because generally people have their own other type of procurement system. But anyway, I wanted to kind of give you that refresher over there, talk about how you can use your contracts console, how you can then come over and use the SAM console to track where you've been, and whether you are in compliance with your various products that you own. We're all trying to avoid that audit, as if you would. And then last but not least, how you can now view your assets within the new Smart IT view that's over there. So I hope that's been informative for everyone. I believe the next seminar is coming up in the middle of next month, but we will post those and invite everybody as we normally do. Again, anyone who might need a little bit more information or any kind of deeper set of questions or whatever you've got, feel free to email RightStar directly, or if you have a RightStar representative, contact them, and we will be sure to follow up on you. I appreciate your time and attendance, and I hope this was informative for you.